Welcome to the We Are PPS podcast, where we sit down to talk with the staff, students, and community partners working to make Pittsburgh Public Schools one of America's premier school districts, student-focused, well-managed, and innovative. I'm your host, Ebony Pugh. Pittsburgh Public Schools cohort graduation rates continue to climb, outpacing district goals, rising from 81.5% in 2021 to 86.1% in 2023. While this achievement is certainly something to be proud of, staff and partners are working together to help all students reach this important milestone. And as we are 50 days away from graduation ceremonies in PPS, we are sitting down with Director of Student Support Services, School Counselors, Carrie Woodard, to discuss graduation requirements and current supports for students. Hello, Carrie.
Hi.
Thank you for coming back, and welcome to our new set.
Yeah, thanks for welcoming me back.
So, what are the key graduation requirements for current students, and how have they evolved in recent years?
So for current students, our PPS students need to graduate with 26.5 credits. But starting with the class of 2027, we've added a personal finance component because we know that it's really important for our students to focus on financial literacy. That's also a requirement that's coming through the Pennsylvania Department of Education. But then starting with the class of 2028, those requirements go down to 24.5 credits. And that allows for students to have a little bit of flexibility when they're choosing their electives and gives them more ownership over what they're choosing to take in high school.
And over the past few years, there have been some requirements at the state level with Act 158.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the flexibility in Act 158 benefit students who may not excel on standardized tests but thrive in other areas?
Sure. So what's great about Act 158, which is now kind of called Pathways to Graduation, is that, like you said, not every student is going to excel on a standardized test like the Keystones, but they can certainly express their strengths in other ways. So whether that's hands-on learning, whether that's through CTE programming, it could be through service learning projects, and different components that can add to a pathway to graduation. So every student can really capitalize on their strengths.
And can you walk us through the role school counselors play in helping students navigate the path to graduation?
Yeah, absolutely. School counselors help students, with academics, so it's a lot of academic planning. But when it comes to the pathway to graduation, they're the ones that are going to be sitting down with the student and perhaps their family and walking them through, like, maybe you weren't successful on the Keystones, but this is what we can explore. So sometimes that is helping and sitting down and helping them apply to a 4-year college or university. It could be applying to a 2-year college, like the Community College of Allegheny County. It could be helping to map out how they're going to participate and earn time in a service learning project. So really working individually with students on what that pathway might look like.
What message do you have for students who may feel overwhelmed or uncertain about their graduation pathway?
Well, I think it's normal for students to feel a little overwhelmed and maybe they're not feeling real confident in whatever pathway they're choosing. I think that's completely normal to be a young person that's not exactly sure. No one's asking a student to just, commit to something at that moment. In fact, when students go to college, I think it's between 20 and 50% go in as undeclared, and 75% of people change their major when they're in college. So I think it's really normal for a young person to change their mind. But what we were saying earlier with Act 158 is we really want our students to explore their strengths and be able to show their strengths in other ways other than standardized testing.
That's good. What kind of support can families expect from counselors if a student begins to struggle academically or personally?
Sure. Communication in many ways. We would want to know, as the school counselor, what is the method of communication that works best for you as the parent and guardian, but you can expect phone calls, you can expect emails. We also send letters home. We use talking points. Sometimes communications go through Peach Jar. There's lots of different ways to communicate with families, but again, we would want to know, is an email better? Is talking points better? Should we call you? That type of thing. Yeah.
So how does attendance factor into academic success, and what role do counselors play in addressing chronic absenteeism?
Sure. So attendance is often overlooked, but it's huge. It's huge. Sometimes if students aren't being successful in a class, it might just be because they're not coming to school. They're not getting that seat time. So counselors are there to, advise students academically. They might be connecting with the student and their family to just try to understand what are the barriers to you being able to come to school. So, it's usually more complicated than it looks. It could be, things going on at home. There could be transportation barriers that perhaps the school isn't aware of. Perhaps there's food insecurity, or, there's some childcare, family obligation things going on. So once the school counselor and often the social worker knows about this, they're able to assist and help that student and those families with resources, because ultimately we need our students in school.
Yeah, so we would definitely, parents, if you're seeing something too, be sure to notify your school and your counselors, because they can also help you with a resource you might need to access from home or something.
Absolutely, yep.
So can you discuss like the role of the community engagement in helping to help us reach these goals for graduation?
Yes. We love our community partners. We love the involvement and, them wanting to be part of, the school community. So one of the unique things that we have been working on this year with our seniors right now is a mentoring program. So for any of our seniors who are, struggling and we want to see them walk across that graduation stage, they've been paired with a mentor, and that person could be a staff member in the building, or it could be a community partner that meets with that student regularly. So it's important to build that relationship, be consistent, but letting that young person know that they're not alone and that we want to work together as a team so that you can walk across that stage in June.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We do have such wonderful partners who partner with us in so many ways to help our students.
Yes.
And so we are so grateful for that. At the top of the beginning of the conversation today, I shared how our graduation rate is rising. It's actually, for the second year in a row, it's actually gone up, and sitting at 86.1%, which is ahead of some goals that we have set for ourselves. What factors do you believe have contributed to this consistent improvement?
Sure. Well, I think PPS has really invested in student services personnel. So they're investing in more school counselors. We have social workers at every high school and some other student services employees at the schools. So that's really important. We want a smaller, counselor to student ratio. So that's helpful. I think also here at PPS, we really celebrate each individual student. We celebrate uniqueness and individuality. So, whether that's, students who identify as LGBTQIA+, our immigrant and refugee students, we celebrate all students. So we want our schools to feel welcoming. We want students to feel supported. So I think that really does contribute to our graduation rates. If you want to be in school, you're going to be there.
Yeah, that's so important, making a place kids want to be.
Yeah.
So what are the next steps for school counselors in maintaining and building upon this current success?
So I would say, you and I have had this conversation before where we talked about the NCAA Eligibility Center and how it's actually really important to get this information into the minds of our young people as early as middle school. I would say the same about just general academic planning. So rather than start thinking about, credits and earning credits and taking advanced classes and what is a transcript and learning that in 9th grade, we should be talking about that in the younger years. So that's what we're working on right now, is making sure that our middle school counselors and social workers also know about these new graduation requirements, so that our 7th and 8th graders that will be in high school soon aren't hearing it for the first time when they're walking into the walls of their high school.
That's so true. And actually this year too, we've done a lot of work together to get the information out to our current seniors primarily, make sure they understood what was required. But we also have been sharing, I know school counselors have been doing meetings with students to share the changes in graduation requirements this current school year, different grade levels. And so we want to make sure that families know, if you want information about graduation requirements, you want to understand the specifics around Act 1 158, visit pghschools.org/graduation, where you will find information around those details. So thank you so much, Carrie, for being with us today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me
we
back.
like having you. I'm sure we'll have you back again.
Yep.
And be sure to tune in the next time with our next We Are PPS, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye, everyone.